Hi, this is Kitty Boitnott of Boitnott Coaching, or Kitty at careermakeover.coachesconsole.com. I'm offering an updated webinar presentation on LinkedIn for beginners, and I say updated because this particular presentation will be based upon the new LinkedIn interface, the user interface, that many people have already been upgraded to, and I was upgraded to one day last week. No worries if you haven't yet been upgraded. LinkedIn is apparently doing it on a rolling basis. I'm not quite sure what determines when someone gets switched over, but as I said, I was switched over about a week ago, and I know many others who were switched over as early as a month or so ago. So the information is basically the same. If you have been through another one of my LinkedIn for Beginners presentation, you've heard me say that there are at least 14 elements that everyone needs to pay attention to in order to have a fully optimized and ready for prime time LinkedIn profile. But there are some significant changes in the interface that you will notice right away when you have been changed over to the new look. And so I want to start out with the same pop quiz that I've used in the past, because you may or may not have heard my earlier presentation. So let's start with where you are on the LinkedIn user continuum. This is a pop quiz, and you simply choose where you fit in the profile. Maybe you've heard of LinkedIn, but you don't have an account yet, and you're not sure quite yet what all the hype is about. That may be you. Or you may have a LinkedIn profile, but you haven't done much with it. Or maybe you set up an account a while back and you've not done anything with it yet. And you're here to learn what all the fuss is about and what you need to do in order to create a rock star profile. And then the final category is you have an account that you completed and you check regularly. In fact, if you're a job seeker, it may certainly be that you are using LinkedIn on a regular basis, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. And that's a good thing. The more you use it, the better off you'll be. But you need to be using LinkedIn whether you are job searching or not. Who is using LinkedIn? Well, as of October 2016, they were up to over 467 million users. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that's not nearly as many as Facebook, just to give you an example. Facebook is well over 1 billion. In fact, I heard recently that they were heading quickly toward 2 billion users worldwide. So LinkedIn is still young and fresh and starting out in comparison to Facebook. Facebook, however, is for family and friends and fun. LinkedIn is for your professional life. It's where you showcase what you can do professionally, and it is not a place for family or friends or fun just to be goofing off there. This is serious business. You want to present yourself as a highly qualified professional when you're using LinkedIn. Now, the good news for LinkedIn is that they're growing by 2 new members per second, and their ultimate goal is to get to 3 billion users worldwide. Currently, or at least as of the last statistic I could find, 128 million users are in the US, which means the rest of their 467 million users are in other places in the world. And there are 106 million monthly unique visitors on LinkedIn every month. Who's using LinkedIn? Well, it's currently being used in 200 countries and territories in 20 different languages, and 70% of the LinkedIn users are outside of the US. According to one specific statistic, the hottest skill that got people hired in 2014 was statistical analysis and data mining. Companies want to track their success, and so they're looking for people who can provide insights based on their statistical findings. The number of standard skills that were listed on LinkedIn was up to 45,000, and there are currently 6.5 million or more active job listings. In fact, LinkedIn is currently fast replacing some of the job boards for places that people post job openings. Who's looking at LinkedIn? Well, we know that recruiters are increasingly going to LinkedIn to look for talent. And in fact, they're often looking for passive talent, those who are not necessarily job hunting, which is why I say it's so critically important for every young professional, every mid-career professional, every experienced and veteran professional to have their profile online and ready for a recruiter to peruse at their leisure. You never know when someone may be looking for you, someone with your specific and unique talents, skills, abilities, and experience. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you are avoiding an opportunity to be found while you are happily going along doing your day-to-day work. I don't know anybody who's not open to a new possibility. And if you are happening to be one of those people, good for you, I guess. But I think most people would be open to a conversation, at least, about the possibility of a new opportunity with a new company. And recruiters are representing companies looking for talent every single day. The other group of people who use LinkedIn regularly are, of course, job seekers, those who are looking actively for a new opportunity, either because they find themselves out of work or just between jobs, or perhaps because they're bored or burnt out with their current position and they're looking for some new opportunity. Could even be that you're working in this, you want to work in the same industry perhaps, but you're interested in a promotion, and so you're looking for that possibility. Hiring managers certainly use LinkedIn. It's one of the first places they will go when they receive your resume. If they're interested in what they see on the resume, what they want to see on your LinkedIn profile is that what you have in LinkedIn corroborates and validates all of the things that you've said about yourself in your resume. And then the final group of people who may be using LinkedIn are potential employers when they are considering hiring a candidate. Now, what makes me, Kitty Boitnott, an expert on LinkedIn? Well, a few years ago, when I was starting out on my business, Boitnott Coaching, as a life coach, a stress management coach, and then later as a career transition and job search coach, I wanted to learn as much about LinkedIn as I could. So I took a course that was then being presented by Lewis Howes. He's now doing other things, and he sold LinkedInfluence to someone else. But I worked my way through the course that was offered online and hosted by Lewis, LinkedInfluence 2.0. I later took another short course with Mark W. Halpert, who is a LinkedIn trainer and someone who turns out knew a friend of mine. So we had that connection once we connected on LinkedIn. I've watched some of his videos and learned a lot from following him. I also follow Melanie Dodaro, who is the Canadian LinkedIn expert. She blogs weekly about LinkedIn, and she speaks routinely to corporations and companies about how they need to be leveraging LinkedIn for their business. I was trained by and worked with J.T. O'Donnell, who is the owner of the twin companies Career HMO and Careeralism, and has now turned to work it daily. I no longer work with JT, but I was trained by her and worked with her company for 14 months. I learned a lot about LinkedIn during that time. More recently, I was named as one of the top 25 career coaches online by CareerToolkit.com. So I'm proud of that, needless to say, and it certainly points to the fact that I've been in business for a while and have established myself as a coach online as well as a LinkedIn expert. So here we go. The things you must consider when you are starting out fresh on LinkedIn. The first thing is to adjust your privacy settings. To do that, you go under the photo, the little thumbnail photo that is to the far right of your interface, and it's still in the same place that it was before. Click on that photo, and the drop-down menu for privacy and settings will come up. You want to click on that, and then you want to choose who can and cannot see your profile edits. Make sure that it is unchecked. Here's a screen view. Actually, it's changed a little bit in the new view, and so what you want to do is go to Sharing Profile Edits here, and you want to make sure that that's off. But see, the question says, should we let people know when you change your profile, make recommendations, or follow companies? You want that to be, that toggle switch to be switched to no. Otherwise, every time you make any change in your profile, your entire network will be notified, and you simply don't want that to happen. So that's the first order of business. Turn off that notification before you do anything else to your profile. Now, I've offered who uses LinkedIn. Who needs LinkedIn? Well, job seekers certainly do, for both promoting themselves online with their online brand. Recruiters certainly use it. Employers need it in order to, as I said, corroborate and validate that a candidate is who they say they are and have the skills that they say they do in their resume. Employees need it for the very reason that I've already pointed out. In fact, and in short, I honestly believe that everyone needs LinkedIn. So that's why I've become such an evangelist. You should care about your LinkedIn profile because it may very well be your first online impression on a potential hiring manager or employer. And you know what they say about first impressions. You cannot make a good first impression after you've already made a bad first impression. So you've got to take care that your online presence is exactly what you want it to be, so that you're presented in the way that makes you proud and would make people want to know more about you. A LinkedIn profile, I believe, is a must-have in today's professional landscape. It hasn't yet replaced the paper resume, but one of these days it very well may. So you want to make sure that it is up to speed and ready for prime time. And your profile is your chance to create another component of your online brand as a professional in your field. Now, one of the very, very first things you want to pay attention to once you've turned off the notification setting under privacy and settings is that you want to take care with your headshot. This is obviously an example of someone who hasn't taken care to present the right image, and this would never be a professional headshot to be used on LinkedIn. This particular person is Gretchen Rubin. She is someone that I follow on LinkedIn. This happens to be her LinkedIn headshot, and she looks professional. She's well-groomed, she's smiling and looking directly into the camera, which helps you to feel like you're making a connection with her. One of the things that you should know is that profiles with photos are 14 times more likely to be viewed than those without. So in my opinion, including your photo, your headshot is not optional. It also will help you to be more likely to be contacted. According to LinkedIn, you are 36 times more likely to receive a message if you have a decent headshot. You want to strive for the likability factor in your headshot. And so what you want to pay attention to is your expression, your demeanor, how you appear in the picture, and how you pose for the picture. I mean, after all, which one of these guys would you want to work with every day? So if you're not sure, if you have a photograph and you're not really sure whether it presents you in the best light or not, you might want to use a free resource called photofeeler.com. It's free. In return for your offering feedback on 20 other people's photos, you are allowed to upload a photo of your own and get feedback from anonymous people who simply look at your profile, and they grade you on 3 domains. They grade you on likability, competence, and influence. And I know if you've never done this, it'll be hard for you at first to understand how anybody could determine that from a simple picture. How would you know whether somebody's likable or competent or influential? Trust me, when you get into photofeeler.com, you'll understand immediately how you react to people and therefore how other people will react to your headshot. So do take the time to really take care to make sure that your headline, your headshot is exactly what you want it to be. Now, the second consideration is, how do you list your name? In other words, how do you want people to be able to find you? So, that sounds like it ought to be a no-brainer, but in fact, people struggle with, do you just use your name? If you have a rather common name, do you need to use a middle name or just a middle initial? If you're a woman who is married, do you hyphenate your middle name and your married name to make it easier for people to find you? Or do you put your maiden name in parentheses? I mean, it's not as simple a prospect as you might think. You want to be found, and so how do you make sure that that happens? And I have this asterisk about not neglecting to customize your URL, because I see so many people making the mistake that they have not yet taken the time to customize their LinkedIn URL. So I'll talk about that in a few moments, but do make a note that you'll need to make sure that you customize your URL if you're still sort of just getting into LinkedIn. The third consideration is your headline. How do you want people to be able to find you as far as searchable keywords? Your headline is limited to 120 characters, so you don't have all the space in the world. What you want to use that space for is to convey what it is that you do, and more importantly, what it is that you want to do moving forward. So I do not recommend that you use that space for a meaningless job title. Job titles don't tell anybody anything about what it is that you do. Technically, my job title is owner and founder of Boitnott Coaching, LLC. Well, that doesn't tell you a thing. So what you want to do is think in terms of skills that you have that you would like to move into in your next job or use more of in your next job, and use those keywords. If you're not sure how to do that, I will recommend a tool here in just a minute, but I do want you to make a note that your headline needs to be keyword rich, and you need to sprinkle those same keywords throughout the rest of your profile. It will help you to sound or to be more searchable on LinkedIn. And I can't overemphasize the importance of your using these keywords to help potential recruiters and hiring managers to find you, because they're looking for someone with your specific skills. So now, if you're not quite sure yet what keywords you should use for yourself, I recommend that you copy and paste a job description. The kind of job that you would just love, love, love to have. It would be your dream job. It's your job. You just haven't found it yet. Copy and paste that job description. Upload it into either Wordle.net or tagcloud.com or some other word cloud program. When you have done that, hit run, let the program run, and then you'll see the word cloud that comes out of that. The larger the words in the word cloud, the more often specific words were used in the job description. And you want to pull out those larger words and use them in your headline. Now, Wordle.net does not work on Chrome if you're a Chrome browser user. It will run on Safari, and it will run, I think, on Internet Explorer. TagCloud.com, as far as I know, works on Chrome as well. So here's the example of a word cloud. It's not one that's related to a job description, but what I wanted you to see was the size of some of the words that are represented here. This is, depending on your specific job description, this is an example of how you might go about finding the words to use in your own headline and to sprinkle throughout the rest of your profile. Now, here's an example. This is my new updated profile on LinkedIn. And in my case, I've opted for the proposition statement or the value statement that many entrepreneurs and salespeople, business people have turned to express what it is that they do specifically, so that people looking at my headline understand right away what it is that I do. So in my case, mine says, I help burnout teachers explore career alternatives. Work should be fulfilling and fun. But then I've added career coach and job search. I think this morning I even added job search help in order to maximize the usage of the 120 characters. So now that first statement, I help burnt out teachers explore career alternatives. Who I help, what I help them do. The second statement is work should be fulfilling and fun. That's the why. I believe that work should be not only fulfilling, and teaching is certainly a fulfilling profession, but honestly, for a lot of people, it has stopped being fun, and they're ready to explore their alternatives. So that's what I help them do. Now, note that I've also, in addition to my headline or headshot here, which is now in a circle as opposed to being off in the center, as opposed to being offset to the left, the banner has changed a little bit as well. It's a little smaller, and you might have to adjust the background photo on your profile. So just pay attention to the requirements for the pixels. In my case, I decided that since the logo was showing, even though it cut off part of my face, that I would have to be okay with that. So that's an example of the profile as it is now being portrayed in the new user interface. You can see that it is a little different in its presentation. So under the headline now, instead of some of the other information that used to be offered, we have your current employment. In my case, that's been listed as Boitnott Coaching. Your most recent education, in my case, that would be Virginia Commonwealth University. Location, which for me is the Richmond, Virginia area. And then here is where the number of connections are indicated, as opposed to down here where they used to be, much, much smaller, but you can see that I'm at 500 plus. So then directly under that are the first 2 lines of my summary. So that's important. That's an important change. You need to make sure that the opening of your summary is compelling enough that someone will want to click on the see more here in order to read the rest of what your summary has to say. So that's the information that's under the headline. Here's where I want to get into the customized URL before I forget it. The customized URL is something you want for yourself because you may then use it on your business cards, your business correspondence, on your resume, and even in your email signature. The original URL will be the one that was assigned to you by LinkedIn. And it's whatever your name is, and then a string of letters and numbers right after it. You want to get rid of those letters and numbers, and the only way to do that is to customize your URL. Now, it used to be that you would do that in a different location, but now with the new interface, the area to make this change is to the right of your general profile. You have to click on the contact and personal info pencil to get this drop down menu, and this is where you would click on your URL that's been assigned to you by LinkedIn and follow the prompts for changing it, for customizing it. Simple enough, but most people don't know to do it, and so they are stuck with those letters and numbers, and it frankly indicates that you haven't paid attention or don't know what to do on LinkedIn when you haven't taken that little bit of time to customize your URL. I want to speak for just a moment about the importance of branding yourself and using LinkedIn to help you to create the proper LinkedIn brand or the online brand that you want for yourself. Anywhere that you appear online, any social media, use of your website if you have one, if you podcast, if you offer comments, political, religious, or otherwise, on your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Pinterest account, those comments, the way you present yourself online, becomes part of your online brand. And you simply want to be aware of what your online brand says about you. Now, your in-person brand is how you show up in person, how you behave and conduct yourself at networking events or during an interview. But your online brand is really, really critical, and you need to pay attention to it. Basically, it is your reputation, what people say about you behind your back, not necessarily what you want them to say. But you need to be self-aware, and you need to think in terms of what you want your brand to be, and then you need to try to identify yourself to others so that they understand who you are and what your brand is all about. Sometimes we need to rebrand ourselves. So that's an important component of living and growing and evolving and understanding what it is that you want, what you want out of life, how you want to present yourself. If you are in need of a rebrand, it can take some upset, some disruption, maybe rethinking or even reinventing and redoing your previous brand. It takes time, but people do it all the time. So you need simply to be aware that LinkedIn is part of your online brand. Now, I already indicated that the contact and personal information on your new user interface is a little different from what it was on the previous interface. It's off to the right. You have to click on the contact and personal info pencil, and then you get the drop-down menu. That's where you will see your LinkedIn URL. You're offered an opportunity to list up to 3 websites, a phone number, an email address, your Twitter handle, your birthday, and WeChat, which is used mostly in China, I understand. Now, you don't have to put your birthday in if you don't want to. That's fine. But if you do, only the month and the date will show up, and then your connections will know on your birthday to wish you happy greetings, birthday greetings. If you do not want to put your phone number on your LinkedIn profile, I would understand that perfectly, but what I would recommend is that you get a Google voicemail number and connect it to your cell phone so that you can, in fact, take a call if a recruiter or hiring manager wants to contact you that way. Do for sure include an email address so that you can be contacted outside of LinkedIn, and you won't have to depend on LinkedIn mail to get a message to you if you happen to be a person of interest for a potential recruiter. So here we go again. This is off to the right under contact and personal info. Here's the pencil to click for this drop-down information to show up. Otherwise, it only shows, I think, the contact and personal info. So you have to click on that in order for it to show up. The fifth element that you want to pay attention to is your summary. I already mentioned that on the new user interface, you only see the top two lines of your summary, and so you have to be careful and write a compelling summary statement so that people will want to read it. It needs to be written in first-person narrative, not as you might in third person as you might use on your resume. It should display your passion and your purpose, and to the extent that it's possible, you should quantify any successes and achievements that you've experienced. Now, as I said, those first two lines need to be compelling because you want people to click here on the See More. This is back to my interface. The two lines here. Do you love your job? Do you hop out of bed every morning, eager to get to work? Or do you dread Monday mornings and just want to pull the covers over your head instead of going back to that place where you only feel... Now, I hope that will be compelling enough for somebody to click the See More and want to see what the rest of my summary says. Now, also included in my summary, I've added some artifacts which are important. In my case, I have 2 videos and a free ebook that if you click on that, you have an opportunity to download it for free. As I said, the summary statement should be written in first-person narrative. Some different approaches that I've seen recommended. One is the mission-based summary. What is it that you feel called to do in your work life? You might mention or write in the personality summary, which is more about what your strengths and abilities might be. The short and sweet summary, if you don't write well and you don't want to spend a lot of time, you can stick with bulleting your specific successes and achievements if you'd like. The blended summary can be a combination of the mission-based summary and the personality summary, or you might just simply go for accomplishments. Whatever you do, make sure that it's interesting and do write it in first person so that it's interesting. Now, this is a little bit of a reordering from the previous interface. The next item that shows up on the new interface underneath your summary statement are the posts, if you've ever posted anything. And in this particular case, it is now directly beneath the summary statement. Now, I've posted a number of times. I do recommend that if you write fairly well and you're interested in posting, go for it. It helps to improve your brand. It helps you to connect with people who are interested in what you do. They will like and comment and share, hopefully, your posts. But it's a double-edged sword because if you don't write well, it can do more harm than good. Now, I would also like to caution that this is not an area where you are totally self-promotional. Yes, you're writing because you want people to pay attention to you, but the post itself should be of value to someone. It should offer valuable content. It should not be just about what you want or what you're up to. It should offer something that other readers would find interesting or valuable. The next section under the posts is the work section, and I don't recommend that you go back 15 years, more than 15 years, unless what you did before in your earlier career is particularly pertinent to what you want to do in the future. Now, of course, if you're just out of college and you don't have any work experience yet, this is an area where you might want to highlight internships that you completed or volunteer work that you've done so that it takes place of your work experience. You want to list all of your degrees and universities that you've attended. If you didn't graduate, that's okay. You simply include the years of attendance. And if you have additional coursework that's pertinent to what you want to be doing moving forward, it's a good idea to add that in the education section. The next section that pops up is the volunteering experience and causes section. You can offer where you have volunteered, and you can select causes that you care about. The next section is the skills and endorsements section. And interestingly, while endorsements are still important and the list of skills are still being used, they are now only featuring the top 3 skills. In addition, you have to view more here. Click on the View More button if you want to see more of the endorsements that you've received, that someone has received. I think you can probably move these around. I'm not sure. Honestly, I haven't gotten that far yet to see if I would want to move any of my endorsements or featured skills. Right now, I'm okay with the top 3 that are showing up, but you might not be. So you want to be sure that you've got the 3 showing that you would like to highlight. And then, of course, anyone who's looking can click on the View More to see 14 more of my skills and endorsements for those skills. I do recommend that you not go crazy with the skills list. 12 to 20 is plenty. And then apparently, from what I can gather at the moment at least, if you want to endorse someone, you now have to go to their profile to do it. It used to be that when you signed in, you were offered opportunities to endorse individuals. But now that feature doesn't seem to be in place anymore. So if you plan to endorse someone, you might have to, or you will have to go to their profile in order to do it. It also means that you will probably have to start asking for endorsements because they are still important and you want to continue to collect them, but people may not think to go there on their own. You may have to remind them by asking them, would you please go to my profile? Recommendations are extremely important, and you want to collect those as you can. And so anytime you do work for someone and they're pleased with your work, you want to ask, would you be willing to offer a recommendation on LinkedIn? In my case, I also ask, and would you allow me to use your recommendation on my website? And so sometimes I also add their comments as testimonials on one of my websites. You need to ask for recommendations from people that you've worked with, previous supervisors, coworkers, people that you know and know you, who know your work and are willing to write a sincere recommendation of you and of your work. If you offer to write recommendations for others, that's a good thing. That leads to the law of reciprocity working for you. The more you offer recommendations for other people, the more recommendations you are likely to collect. You want at least 2 and up to 4 or more recommendations per position that you've held, if possible. Now, in the next section, they've clumped together. Used to be that these were separated out. Now they're all under accomplishments. Any publications that you've been listed in or that you've written for, any certifications that you may own, organizations that you support or belong to, courses that you've taken, projects that you are part of, honors and awards that you've received, and any test scores that you might want to share. And unfortunately, those items are not movable. You can't reorder them. I think that's very unfortunate, but that seems to be the way it is, that you are stuck with the order that they're presented in. Now, I want to speak just briefly about groups, the importance of groups, using groups to help you connect with people who are the thought leaders in your industry and with possible recruiters who are lurking in the groups looking for possible talent. In order to raise your visibility on the leaderboard, you want to participate in the groups, you want to ask questions, you want to offer answers to questions if you happen to know the answers, and solutions to problems that may come up. All of that activity will increase and add to your network presence. It will help to build your online professional brand, and it will help you to make the most of what LinkedIn has to offer. There are plenty of groups from which to choose, with 2.1 million groups as of the most recent report. The average LinkedIn member belongs to 7 groups. I'm not good right now. I'm so busy with other things. Honestly, I don't participate in groups the way I should be, and I'm probably a member of too many groups. So I need to go in and pare down the number of groups that I belong to, and then I need to participate more actively. But there are a couple of groups that I do actively participate in and follow, and I have my own group that I post in periodically. It's called Teachers in Distress, and it's mostly for my teacher colleagues and friends and clients who happen to fall into the Teachers in Distress category, a burnt out teacher who may be looking for career alternatives. You also have the option of following thought leaders who are the influencers in their field. They've been selected by LinkedIn early on as people who influence the industry with their thought leadership. They're important people to follow and to know more about. It's important for you to remember that one of the things that sets LinkedIn apart from your resume is that you can put in artifacts, articles, video, photos, and evidence of your work in a variety of forms that just aren't available to you in the traditional resume. Now, here are some final thoughts about what you want to make sure you do when you're using LinkedIn. Use compelling keywords in your headline, and don't forget to sprinkle them throughout your profile. Do take time to endorse others. Do take time to offer recommendations for others. And do like, share, and post other people's content, as well as producing your own. When you are connecting with people, it's important for you to do it properly. You can connect with people that you know from work, church, school, or other activities. Do send a personalized invitation as opposed to the traditional, I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn network, or worse, just hitting the connect button with no message going forward. Give people a reason for why you would like to connect. And if you receive a spammy looking connection request from someone you don't know and they don't know anybody in common with you, and their headline doesn't seem to indicate any similar purpose or interest that you have in common, then just ignore it, avoid it, because you don't want to be subject to a spammer. Don't forget that LinkedIn offers the job search feature, which is extremely important, especially if you are job hunting. And finally, to just make sure that everybody remembers, now that we're nearing the end of this presentation, I would like for you to not forget to check the privacy setting on your LinkedIn profile to make sure that that toggle switch is turned to off or no, so that you're not blasting out to your network every time you make a change in your profile. Do engage in group conversations to raise your visibility. Do send customized requests to connect with people that you know or you want to know in your industry. Do offer endorsements and recommendations, and do ask for recommendations and endorsements. Now, I have available a free resource. Now that we've seen the change in the user interface, This particular PDF is a little bit dated, so I'm only offering it as a free gift. I was selling it, but now it's going to be free. It will still assist you, I think, in walking through the 14 elements that you need to remember. The order may be a little bit different now, and the look may be a little bit off from the current user interface, but it's still available to you if you would like it. Simply email me at kittyboitnott@gmail.com or contact me through one of my websites. And here are the URLs for that. kitty@careermakeover.coachesconsole.com or teachersintransition.com. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn if you'd like. Simply send me a note, customized invitation saying, I watched your webinar on LinkedIn for Beginners. I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn. I'd like to add you to my LinkedIn network, I think is what the traditional language says. And I would be happy to connect with you. You can always call me at 804-404-5475 if you have a burning question that simply can't wait for an email. I'm always happy to hear from people who have learned something or found something of use in my presentations. And if you have recommendations for how to improve this particular presentation, that would be well appreciated too. So that's it for now. This is Kitty Boitnott of Boitnott Coaching, or kitty@careermakeover.coachesconsole.com. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I am here to help. Have a great rest of your day.